Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Business Story of the Week. I am your co-host, Joshua. And today, like many other days, we unravel stories of perseverance, success, all that journey and the inspiration that it takes for you to succeed in your entrepreneurial journey, as a business owner, as a business leader. And we bring you the best in their field, the veterans in their field, the titans in their field, to give you the insight you need to succeed. Today, we have Larry Kasanoff, film producer and a visionary creator known for his work on iconic movies such as Terminator 2, True Lies, and Mortal Kombat, as well as animated movies like Lego Star Wars. Wow. His innovative spirit extends beyond the silver screen, as he also designs immersive theme park rides, including Marvel's Superheroes 4D experiences. Wow. Again, with his book, A Touch of Madness, A Touch of the Madness, Larry encourages individuals to embrace their inner creativity by embracing their unique eccentricities and thinking outside the box. Larry, I'm very excited for this episode. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm great, Josh, on a rainy day, but it's great to be talking to you.
Yes, fantastic. We talked a little bit about that. Your background is great. It looks great. It doesn't look rainy at all. Everyone must be envious of you living in the beachside. But tell us your story. Before we get into this, I always like to start this way. Where did it all begin? Anything that happened in your childhood, anything that happened throughout your life, what got you into film, and what made you transition into, inspiring people to embrace their creativities, their eccentricities? What is the story of Larry Kasanoff?
Here's my story in a nutshell. I grew up in Boston with wonderful parents, but no connections to the movie business. And when I was a little kid, my dad took me to see a James Bond movie.
Wow.
And I walked out and I said two things. I want to be James Bond, but what is that guy? It said, so-and-so, it was Cubby Broccoli at the time, the producer of, what does that guy do? And my father explained it to me and I said, that's what I'm going to do. I was a really little kid. So we had no way to get there. So I figured if I went to good schools, I would meet enough people and get a job in Hollywood. And long story short, it worked. I mean, I really was planning this since I was a little kid, and I got really lucky. And out of grad school, I got a job as head of production and acquisitions of an independent film studio called Vestron. And that was in the heyday of home video, which is very similar to the heyday of streaming today, in that a new distribution system sprung up and it needed movies. The way streaming needed movies, so did home video stores in those days. So my job, as right out of school, was to run production and deliver 80 movies a year, 80, which was, today a studio makes 12 movies a year.
Uh-huh.
And so we mostly did a whole bunch of horror movies and action films and rom-coms and things like that. And along came a script called Platoon. And Platoon was not like that. It was a great script by Oliver Stone, a serious movie about the Vietnam War and the repercussions it had on the kids who went. And I wanted to make it. My boss said, well, this isn't our kind of movie. I mean, the people in it weren't stars. They later became stars, but they weren't. It wasn't a fun, upbeat, rom-com-y topic, but I wanted to do it. And my boss said, well, it's your decision. You're head of production, but there's always a but. If it fails, you're fired. What are you going to do? Okay. And I'm like, a few months into the best job in the world. And I thought, well, I didn't get into the film business to play it safe, so I greenlit Platoon. When I saw the movie, the first cut of the movie, I'm the only person in the history to giggle his way through a screening of Platoon, not because it wasn't great, because it was so great. I thought, oh my God, I'm not getting fired. And it was so good, it won Best Picture at the Academy Awards that year.
Wow.
A few months later, I ran into Oliver at a bar in New York. He bought me a drink and he said, kid, I always liked you. You have a touch of the madness. And I thought, touch of the madness? Is he calling me crazy? Am I crazy? And then it occurred to me, well, my boss was crazy to give a 25-year-old kid the responsibility for an 80-picture film slate. Oliver had a touch of the madness by insisting on making a Vietnam movie in a way no one ever had. And I had a touch of the madness betting the best job in the world and all this. And then it hit me that this is what you need to be successful, not only in the movie business, but in business. Here's why. To be really successful in business, you need innovation. If you don't have innovation, you can survive, but you won't be great, because the audience and the customers want the new and the different. That's innovation. And the current of the river of life will always pull you towards the middle, and the middle is not innovative. So to be innovative, you need to have a touch of the madness. You need to let that wild, crazy side of yours go out and embrace it. And that idea you think is too much, they'll never let me do it, it's impossible. That's the one. That's how I did Platoon. And ever since then, it's been my complete touchstone. That's how I make movies. That's how I cast. That's how I run my life. Now, as to why I decided to finally write a book about it, it's because in the last few years, I think people have been very scared to really embrace their true creative selves. I think there's been for whatever reason, I'm not a politician, but people have, and I wanted to encourage people to do the opposite, to embrace their unfettered, uninhibited self by embracing their madness.
That's fantastic. Well, it certainly bleeds into what you do as a filmmaker, as a film producer. I really kind of want to get into that a bit. Give us a little perspective. How did that bleed into talk about all these other movies that you worked on, the big ones, Terminator, Mortal Kombat, Lego Star Wars. Talk to us a little bit about your process. You said that you included, this touch of madness whenever you cast, whenever you produce. Give us that perspective. How does this practically, specifically, in some instances, tell us stories, how it helped you in that process?
Well, so I think that, because it's easy to sit on a podcast, in front of the beach and say, yeah, just embrace your crazy side. But there's a very simple 3-step process I have for it. I call it create, ask. And the first thing about create your great idea is you have to understand what I call the essence of your idea. So here's the thing. When I wanted to make Mortal Kombat, there had never been a hit movie from a video game. So now it's a big deal. But at the time, everyone thought I was crazy and my career was going to be over. But the secret is, I never thought I was making a hit movie from a video game. I thought I was making it from the essence that video game is based on. And to me, Mortal Kombat is based on empowerment. That's the head of your intellectual property pyramid, not the game. One rung down is the game. You go back to the essence of the top, you can make a movie. You go back to something else, you can go down and you can make a TV show. And so by looking at it a little differently, by saying, no, I'm not making it from a video game. This will work because it's a great story. We're now in our 20th Mortal Kombat production 20-something years later. But it wasn't at the time. At the time, everyone told me I was crazy. And then we insisted in shooting in Thailand, and we insisted in doing the martial arts differently, and we insisted in doing the music differently. But it just kept being an outgrowth of that approach. So the first thing you have to do is create your idea. The second thing you have to do is, once you've created your idea and you believe it, you got to hold on for dear life, because everyone is going to try and dissuade you from it. Again, that current of the river will pull you towards the middle. So one of the first movies we did at Vestron was Dirty Dancing. And Dirty Dancing was a movie kind of in trouble, and the company managed to lure this wonderful, wonderful genius producer named Jimmy Einer to come and oversee it. And Jimmy then lured in a musical genius named Michael Lloyd to oversee Dirty Dancing. And the first thing they did was got to the song Time of My Life, the big song. It wasn't the song you hear today. It was a high falsetto disco song, and they didn't like that. So Jimmy said, no, we got to change it. And so he wanted a lower, a more slower ballad song, and he got no one wanted. And he got Bill Medley from an old group called the Righteous Brothers to do it as a favor. And they re-recorded the song and they sent it out to everybody, the managers and the director and everybody. No one liked it. Everyone hated it. They all sent notes. Jimmy, you got to do this. Jimmy, you got to do that. And he and Michael said, sure, no problem. We'll do all your notes. Just give us a few weeks. A few weeks later, they sent out version 2. And they said, we also sent version 2 to some radio stations. In those days, radio stations really helped you promote records. And they like it too. So what do you think? And everyone said, oh, we love version 2. Thank you so much. The changes are great. We're so glad you made it. Thank you. Thank you. So the question becomes, what changes did Jimmy make between version 1 and version 2 to turn everyone around? You know what he changed? Nothing. He didn't change a thing. He changed the label and the date. That's it. And he doubled down by going to radio stations, which is the public. So if that failed, the movie would have been over. He didn't change a thing. He knew what he had. He held on. And because he was confident, everyone said, it's great. It was the same version.
Wow.
So that's the first step you have to do. Create. By understanding the essence of what you're doing, you got to understand your audience. You got to hold on for dear life to your idea.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit. Tell us that steps again. Create. What's the next one?
Second one is ask. So once you now have your idea, you hunt on to it, you got to ask anyone, anywhere, any place, as many times as you need for what you want in pursuit of your goal. So let me ask you a question, and I'm also asking your listeners a question.
Please.
If you could call anyone in the world who's alive today and ask them a question, who would you call and what would you ask?
Oh my goodness, what a question. I would call perhaps one of my favorite writers, probably Robert Greene, and ask him how to, overcome my problems in my life right now. How to be, the best version of myself. Something like that.
Why haven't you?
Oh, well, because I don't have his number.
Well, that's different, but you can get it. The answer is, in most cases, because most people don't even know who they call, so that's very good. The answer is because we're not taught we can do it. We're not taught we can do that. I happen to have had a wonderful professor at college who taught me when I was a freshman, we can call anybody. And I've been doing this since college, even before I was a movie producer. I had in grad school, I had to do a report on Warner Brothers. I called the CEO. He talked to me for an hour. You can call anybody. So during the pandemic, we made an animated movie called Bubbleheads for Universal. And, big bobblehead kid. And we wanted Cher, the famous Cher, to play bobblehead Cher using her own likeness. Okay. There's no way. So we called and we got her. And Cher was in the movie playing bobblehead Cher, and she did great. When the movie came out, People magazine said to Cher, "You've never done an animated movie. Why did you do this one?" And she said, "I've never done an animated movie because no one ever asked me before them."
Wow.
I did. If Cher, one of the most iconic people on earth, had never been asked to do an animated movie, can you imagine who in your life or who in your listener's life you're not calling because you're like, everyone asked them, I can't do it. But maybe no one's asked them. Exactly. You do it. You in pursuit of your creative idea, step one, in pursuit to ask everybody everything you need and ask again. If they say no, so what?
Wow. Is there a step that comes after that?
Is there what?
A step that comes after that.
The final step after ask is play. Create, ask, play. You have to live your life in a state of play, and you have to live your business life in a state of play. You're more creative, you're more open. So one of the first movies we ever did in that job at the restaurant, I didn't greenlight. It was already greenlit before I got there. And it was, today we call it a low budget Game of Thrones. And I mean really low budget. And the chairman of my company in those days was a really fun guy. And he said to me and my creative staff, I want violence, I want sword fighting, I want sex, I want debauchery. And we just thought it was so funny. And we said, and snakes and wizards. And we said, yeah, snakes and wizards. It was just our rallying cry. There were no snakes and wizards, but we just thought it was funny. And the producer, we were the executive producers in the studio. The producer was already in Rome prepping the movie. And every time we ended a conference call with him, we'd say, and remember, snakes and wizards. It became kind of our battle cry. It just was funny. So I get to Rome, and it's the first movie and my first set, and it seems to be going well. What do I know? And the crew tells me one day, we have a surprise for you at lunch today. I'm like, oh, great. That's so nice. So everyone's very excited. And at lunch, we go out back, and they're all gathered around me in a semicircle, and I don't see anything. It's like you can see the hills of Rome behind you. And finally, we see like a little dot, and it's getting bigger. And I see that it's a truck, and it's dirt, behind it. And the truck comes closer, and now a band's playing. I don't know where they got a band, and the truck is very multicolored. It backs up. It's all painted in all kinds of exotic, fun pictures. The back rolls up, and all these women with boa constrictors and Burmese pythons, they're snake charmers, run out of the truck, and behind them run all these people dressed as wizards. And they said, the snakes and wizards. It was a joke. There were no snakes and wizards in the script. We were kidding. So what do I do? In a state of not play, I would have freaked out. How could you do this? How could you spend the money? How could you waste your time? Right. But that would have alienated them. That would, because they thought they were doing the right thing. It was really our fault because we didn't tell them. In a state of play, which I was in because I was in Rome, it was fun. We always had wine at lunch. I said, you know what? Put them in the movie. And we put the snakes and wizards in the movie. And they looked great. Honestly, the movie's terrible. I mean, but it made a lot of money, and snakes and wizards looked great. And I learned a great lesson. So you got to try and live your life in a state of play. Create, ask, play. That's it. It's simple, but it's not easy. And the best way I would suggest to get started is with the second one, with ask. Because you don't have to make your first share or your writer. You can make it Uncle Phil and say, how come you never come to Thanksgiving? I mean, you can make it the local pizza place and say, how come your pizza's always cold? You can do whatever you want in pursuit of some goal. Don't waste people's time. And, you'd be shocked how many people answer you. And the ones who don't, so what? Again, so what?
Right.
It's so easy today. You know, when I started doing this, there was no texting. You had to actually call the person up. Now you can text, you can DM, you can send an email. There's so many ways to get to people. And if they don't answer you, they say no. So what? Try again. It still happens to me. I like to think that, oh, who's going to not take my call? You know what? Unfortunately, lots of people. But so what? All you need is one yes when you're pursuing something.
That's fantastic. Like, first of all, create, ask, play. I want to just kind of just like put it in a ribbon and how you explained each of those steps, because each step does involve a sense of madness, right? Because first of all, you got to be a bit mad to just create an idea. You just keep not stopping creating ideas, right? And pursuing your ideas. But the way that you said also, whenever we're not taught to ask, you must be mad if you want to ask, right? There's some sense of madness in there as well, because you're going from the norm, separate from the norm that you were taught that you're not supposed to ask around too much, right? But then play. I love that snakes and wizards story. It's like you need to have some sort of madness to be able to embrace that and welcome it into your life. I love it. Create, ask, play. Very simple, very precise steps. I'm sure the audience and listeners love that.
And you know, the book is called A Touch of the Madness, and you can buy it or get it wherever books are sold or on Audible. And you can, you know, I figured if I, as a movie producer, was going to write a book, it can't take you longer to read it than it does to watch a movie. So the whole book is stories, the ones I just told, in explanation of create, ask, play. So you can read the whole thing in 2 hours, and it's fun. But that's how you do it. And then you just got to go do it. You just got to go out there. And what you said is true. There's a tendency of people to say, well, who am I to sit on my couch and think of some idea? But well, who are you not to do it? Why not you? Not now, when? Why not? And yes, it is total madness, but it's that mad idea that works. It's the one that you're saying, oh, this is crazy. That's the one you should do. The one that your parents, your kids, your business partner, your friends, your partner is saying to you, oh, no, that's too crazy. That's the one. Do it.
Precisely. And if that isn't what the film industry is about, like filled with crazy people, crazy madness, you need to have that kind of embracing that creativity. I can see why this.
You know, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, the film business isn't as full of that as you think it is. And it's not just the film business. Innovation is important in every business. I mean, every business is important, but people are just very scared today all over the world to take those innovative risks. We try to talk to a lot of corporations now, not in the film business, and we try and encourage them to think a little differently and take a risk in your business, because you won't be great without it. You can be okay, you can survive, but you won't be great without madness.
That was precisely what's going to be my question. I love that you pointed out it's not as present in the film industry, which you would imagine it's the most crazy, most creative place there is. But how do you see that now? I can see it transitioning, how it can help when it comes to entrepreneurship and business, when you create that madness, taking those risks, those seemingly crazy risks. But give us a bit more specifics. How does this madness play into being an entrepreneur? First of all, you need to be some sort of kind of mad and crazy if you want to be an entrepreneur, right? But how do you embrace this better? How do you embrace that kind of madness more effectively as a business owner?
Well, you have to really become yourself. You have to be true to yourself and ask yourself the question, what do I really want? Am I doing what I want? So here's an example. You know, in my other life, I'm a photographer. I have a photography book coming out soon. And I shoot a lot of models. And there's a model named Livia, who I shot a lot. And during the pandemic, she's really a great model, very touch of the madness, great. She was in Mexico, fell off a roof and fell into a cactus and went through her hand. And it got infected and she had to come to LA. Long story short, she wound up in the hospital during the pandemic. And by the time I found out she was in the hospital, she's been there for 5 days. She's not from this country. And no one was coming to see her because everyone was scared to go to a hospital during the pandemic. So I called her and said, what can I do? What can I bring you? And she said, oh my God, that'd be great. Can you go to my house and get these clothes? And can you go to the health food store and get this food? So I did. And I thought it'd be fun. And she's just a friend, but, you know, we shot a lot. And I stopped by the lingerie store and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to say, and of course, in the hospital, you need lingerie. Ha, ha, ha. So as she unpacked all the stuff, it was late, and the visiting hours are over, but they let me stay. She thought it was hysterical, and she had such a great point of view. And I said, "Is there anything you want to do before I go?" She goes, "Yeah, I want to do a photo shoot in the lingerie." I said, "In the hospital?" She goes, "Why not?" I mean, her attitude was inspiring. She was willing to play in the midst of being alone in the hospital with a tube through her hand. So we did, and she posted the picture, the best one, and got more likes than she'd ever gotten. But her managers and her management company hated it, and they didn't hate it aesthetically. They just said, "You can't have fun in the hospital during a pandemic." I actually think that's exactly what you should be doing to try and relieve people's attention. She felt bad, and she took it down, and she was kind of miserable for a few months. Not just because of that, but they said she wasn't being herself, and she was questioning who are the people in my life. And one day she just said, "The hell with it," and she put the picture back up. And within 3 months, she had new managers. She had a ton of deals and jobs. She got engaged. And I'm not saying it was because of the picture. It was because she made a decision in her life to embrace the madness, and I'm going to be who I truly am. So that's how you have to get into it. And it isn't for everybody. I mean, you might not want to take a crazy chance in your life. That's okay. But if you want to be great, you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to figure out, what do I really, really want to do? What am I good at? What do I love? What can I sell myself at? Why aren't I doing this? That's what you got to do. And you just got to go do it.
And if that isn't a form of madness as well, just embracing who you are, because we're taught to not be ourselves. We grew up thinking like you need to be to contain yourself, be prim and proper, don't offend people, think about what other people are thinking, but it takes a sense of madness again to just go out there and be yourself. And that's so important, I think, with anything, not just being an entrepreneur.
No, it is. And you're right, because the most attractive trait anyone can have is to be comfortable with themselves. And Hollywood and lots of people, and often our parents tell us, don't be yourself. Sit up straight, do this, become a lawyer. And you're like, well, what if you don't want to? And so there is a dichotomy to it. And once you break out of that and start living like that, you see the world a little differently. And then it's hard not to live like that.
Yes, precisely.
It's very hard for me to not do things with a touch of the madness now. I cast that way. I look in people's eyes as a producer or director, and I think, they have a touch of the madness. I'm going to cast them. I do. Wow. I found 2 or 3 people on Instagram during the pandemic who we're putting in movies, and it's just, I thought, touch of the madness, and we contacted them.
Just like a look in their eyes, like.
Once you start living like that, it becomes addictive.
And it like you said, it spills over. You can see it in their eyes. Not maybe like a literal crazy look, but now you got to tell us a story, Larry. Tell us just a short instance of this happening. Someone famous, probably, that you said that you casted. Someone that stands out, who had that look in their eyes, and you knew you just had to have them. Who is it?
Well, I don't say individual names, but I think it's more interesting because we put about, we probably started about 15 people from who never acted before, or maybe had one movie, and we launched their careers because of that. And I want to be clear, you're not always right. It doesn't work 100% of the time. You have no one bats 1,000. So, but maybe it works 75, 80% of the time. And so it's not so, you have to be a genius. When I was making movies with someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger to say, well, let's get Arnold. I mean, he was the biggest star in the world. He has a complete touch of the madness, but you already knew that. The question is, what about someone else? We recently found someone who we're about to announce on Instagram. Never heard of her before. She hasn't acted before. She lived not here. She's now moved to LA, and she's going to be, I guarantee you this girl's going to be a big star. And we're casting her and to lead a lead role in a movie. So we do that all the time. You have to be willing to take those chances. And that's hard in Hollywood, because now you got to convince a bunch of people, let's take a chance on someone new. And remember, the new and the different is what the audience wants, but the current will pull you towards the middle, even in Hollywood. And you have to swim against you. Always, your whole life as an entrepreneur, as a creative person, you always have to swim against that current that is going to try and pull you towards the middle of the road.
That's fantastic. I love that you keep repeating that, because it's so relevant. The current will keep pulling you in the middle, and you need to take those chances, because otherwise, go ahead.
Listen, I still go through it. It's not like, just because I've made some good movies, I don't. I mean, people say to me all the time, this morning, you're crazy. We can't do that. What, are you nuts? You know what's happened to me? I'm at the point in my career where if I pitch a movie and someone goes, "Oh my God, that's a great idea. That's perfect," I get a little nervous. But if they say, "It's crazy, you're nuts," I feel a kind of calm embrace me, like walking on the beach in a misty day, and I'm embraced by a touch of the madness because everyone's calling me crazy, and I go, "Okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be," and then I go make the movie. So I encourage your listeners to do it, because if you do, it'll change your life.
That is pretty hilarious and a great reminder, by the way. Yeah, so for our audience and listeners out there, I hope you heed that advice. If people are telling you you're crazy, you're probably doing the right thing.
You're on the right track. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So Larry, as much as I want to talk to you more a little bit about your film experience, your Hollywood experience, I do want to wrap this up in such a way that I always do on this show anyway. First of all, what is the future for Larry Kasanoff? What are your future aspirations? And of course, you're talking about this book, A Touch of the Madness. Do you have other books coming out, perhaps? But what else is it that when it comes to teaching this message of madness, how do you see it affecting the future, not just in Hollywood, but in life in general?
I think the world goes in waves. I mean, right now we're, I think, coming out of a very conservative, politically correct time in the world. I think that's cracking. It happened in the 1950s. It happened in the early 1900s. It happened in the 1500s. It just always happened. And so I think now it's very important for all of us in our daily lives to do anything we can to break out of it. You don't have to make a big movie, just anything you can. The way you live your life is important. So I think that's the first thing you have to do. You have to just embrace the madness in your way, in everything you do. For me, we had in Hollywood, we had a writer's strike and an actor's strike and a pandemic. So we really couldn't work for a few years. So we doubled down. We developed a bunch of scripts. So now we have about 20 projects. And our focus is largely, the kind of movies I made, big action fantasy movies. But we're really focusing on movies that appeal to the whole world. A lot of movies we make don't get shown in Africa, they don't get shown in Indonesia, they don't get shown in Southeast Asia, they don't get shown in India. We're trying to change that. We're trying to make one movie that works everywhere in the world. We think that's very inclusive in a good way. We think it's very fun. And I think that's the future of the movie business. Because if you make a movie that works all over the world, you'll reach more people and you make more money. So that's what my focus is.
Oh, fantastic. Larry, I am very excited. You should let us know if you're going to make a movie here somewhere, in the Philippines. Let me know. I gotta go visit.
Oh, you're in the Philippines? Oh,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We have very interest in the Philippines, actually. Southeast Asia is a great market. And we don't make enough movies that,
That's true. And it's inclusive, and not to mention our film industry needs all the inspiration and the madness that they can. So there's a little more creativity.
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of Filipino in LA in the film business who are trying to work with the Philippines to make movies, and I think that's great.
Yes, that's fantastic, and I love that you're putting it out there. You're being inclusive. You're expanding the reach of this. I probably said madness 100 times by now, but I love that I keep repeating that word, expanding the reach and teaching that you need to embrace that madness. I love it. I love the idea, Larry.
And we call it being a Maddie. Embrace the madness. Be a Maddie.
Be a Maddie. I love that. Be a Maddie. Yeah. Larry, yeah. I wanna give you this opportunity. Where can we find you for our audience's listeners? Where are you most active? Instagram, LinkedIn, what's your website? Any projects that are coming out, let me know.
So my website is larrykasanoff.com. My Instagram is Larry Kasanoff. My LinkedIn is Larry Kasanoff. So you can reach me in any of those places. You can reach the book at atouchofthemadness.com. And that's it. Love to hear from you.
All right. Fantastic. Larry, thank you so much for your time. Wait, any movies coming out? Any projects coming out anytime soon?
Yes, but we will announce them soon.
All right, fantastic.
I can tell you about our next one. Our next movie is an animated movie based on Simon Cowell's show, The X Factor. And it's called X Factor in the Jungle. And jungle animals get their own karaoke machine and start their own version of the show. So that's what it is. A big, fun animated musical called X Factor in the Jungle that we're doing. I'm
already sold. It's like Sing, like that movie Sing, but it's more X Factor. More fun. Exactly.
In the show. Yeah, it's just pure fun. The world needs more fun. Fun is very underrated today, and we need to have more fun in the world.
That is true. I agree. Larry, thank you so much for your insight. Thank you so much for your wisdom. And to our audience and listeners out there, I hope you appreciated this time once again. Larry, thank you for being here on the show.
Enjoyed it, Joshua. Thank you.
Fantastic. To our audience and listeners and everyone out there, see you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.